Hi everyone. I'm going to make a quick video here familiarizing ourselves with the equipment that we need for Lab 4. Some of this lab can be a bit time consuming, so it would really benefit you to watch this video and familiarize yourself with the equipment that we're going to use and the setup that we're going to have for this lab to make sure you maximize your time in lab. The equipment that we have is a DC power supply. This is going to act basically as an adjustable battery. We're going to use this to charge up our electrode pattern. This is conductive paper with this particular one has two thin conductive lines. It's metallic paint painted on it. Our goal is to determine what the pattern of the electric field is around this paper by measuring what's called the potential or the voltage at various locations. To do that, we're going to charge this up, deposit some positive charge here, some negative charge here, and the way we do that is by connecting it to the battery by these little metallic pins. These are just push pins with metallic paint on them. The key is to make sure that these are pressed firmly all the way down so that there's good contact with the bottom of the pin and the electrode paint. We also have our voltmeter. This is actually a meter that can also measure electrical current and electrical resistance, but we're going to use it to measure the voltage at various locations. Very quickly, how we're going to set this up is we are going to turn on our power supply. I actually already have it on. Let me adjust this so that you can see the meter here. It's on because I can see the lights on. I'm in the DC outputs. My wires are on the DC side. And then I'm going to increase this to 3 volts. We're just going to have a 3 volt potential difference across our probe. So when that hits right around 3, we'll make a fine adjustment in a little bit, but that's where we're going to start. So then, in order to charge these up, we're going to take these 2 probes that were connected to our power supply, and we're going to connect one on each of the pins. So we're just going to use the alligator clips to connect these. So now we have 3 volts between the 2, and basically that means that there is a bunch of positive charge deposited on this line and a bunch of negative charge, a bunch of extra electrons deposited on that line. To measure our potential, we have to have our voltmeter. To measure the voltage or the electric potential, we have to have our voltmeter set to DC volts. So volts are over here, the V's, but there's also direct volts, direct current volts. What we're going to use down here with this little squiggle is alternating current volts. We're going to be up here at 20 and about the 2 o'clock position on these orange meters, and these 2 sockets are where our probes are going to be connected. Now I just did a video and it didn't work, so I'm going to make a quick check to make sure I have good electrical contact, and I do. Okay, so we're back to 20. Now hopefully I can get this in the shot too. Good. And our goal is to measure the voltage at different locations, but they all have to be relative to the same common point. What we do is we take the black probe from the voltmeter and we insert it into the back end of this wire like that. So these 2 points are electrically connected. We're going to leave that there. We don't need to move that at all throughout the experiment. Then this probe, the first thing we should do is we should make sure we have 3 volts. If I just touch it on here, on that red probe, we see I have more than 3 volts, 3.9. So that dial on our power supply reads a little bit low. So now I'm just very carefully adjusting that so I can get it as close to 3 as possible. We see I have 3.02. The fact that I have a negative is because I wasn't very careful with how I put these wires in. If the black is in the common side, COM, this says COM. If the black is on that side and the red is on that side, then we'll have positive 3. So all I needed to do is swap it around. Whoops. Positive 3-ish volts. Well, that wire is a little bit loose. There we go. Now what we are asked to do is to find a bunch of locations where we have, we'll start working along this middle line, and we see I'm just lightly touching it on the paper, and I am getting readings of our voltage. So I'm going to move it to a different location, and we get 1.68. Move it to a different location, that's 2.16, and so on and so on, as every location around these charged electrodes has a voltage. We want to plot lines of common voltage, equipotential lines. So I'm going to first find the 0.5 line by going along the middle and finding a location that says 0.5. So there it's 0.23, there it's 0.81, so it's in between there. I'm just making fine little adjustments. And now I've got a location of 0.5. using the grid that's on the paper, I can transfer that point to the white grid that should be supplied near your lab table to say, okay, at this location is 0.5, and I make a note of it on that white grid. Then I find another location of 0.5 by going a little bit to the left or to the right. I'm going to go to the right, and I should see that all these 0.5s are roughly in a straight line. And I just continue on finding locations of 0.5 here, 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 some over here, 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 here. Once I have enough 0.5s, I can join them and be fairly certain that all of the points along that line have a potential of 5 volts, 0.5 volts. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move up a little bit and find wherever it's 1.00. Find a bunch of 1.00 locations, connect them. That's my 1 volt equipotential line. We'll repeat that for all the way up to 2.5 volts, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. And then we'll repeat the same process on a different electrode pattern, that being a dipole. You'll see there's just 2 dots on that one. Hopefully this will allow you to get started a little bit quicker once lab starts, and I will see you in lab on Thursday.